Yeah, we are live, so that problem is over. So you can mute your microphones and we're going to start immediately. So the context in which we were discussing this chapter was this whole long debate which was taking place between different questioning Purva Pakshis or defense lawyers or whosoever doesn't have much of a confidence in what Bhagavan is explaining. What he's trying to harp on or emphasize or reiterate or underline is that Jiva and Ishvara, even though Kshatrigya is the knower, we have only one knower. The individual knower and the collective knower is only one knower, and that is that Satchidananda Swarupa. How we all think differently as individuals can be explained with the help of a concept called ignorance or avidya. The sansarikya is also an outcome of this faulty understanding. Because you have to explain the presence of samsara, you do not have to deny the fact of oneness or sameness between all of us and what we call Ishvara or Parameshwara. It's all one unified consciousness. And how that one unified consciousness manifests as multiples can be explained. And we have done that already in chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9. We can do it even again. But don't confuse it. Don't sacrifice this truth because you have a difficulty trying to understand samsara. That's advice number 2. There was a fear that if there is no samsara, why should we understand or read Vedanta or any spiritual text? What is the purpose? If there is no samsara, there is no need for any moksha. If there is no disease, no need for any vaccine. Then it's saying that, look here. And then there was another doubt that if actually there is a samsara and there is only one Ishvara, jivas are not different, then the Ishvara has to experience what we experience. That means he'll become a samsari. So the Ishvara Hani is going to be there. He'll be as miserable as all of us. There were 2 doubts raised, and Bhagavan Bhashyakara, referring to different Upanishadic texts, explained with a lot of ease, but quoting a lot of authoritative sources, that you have to accept this simple fact without getting too much super excited about it, that that this is a given, that the samsara is because of a certain faulty understanding that it all appears as real. And he will sort of again repeat and he will sort of reiterate this as we move forward. But just because you have a samsara, please do not at all allow yourself to be deluded that there is no oneness between the samsara and the Ishvara. That was the point he mentioned. And he says this sort of a confusion is not possible because you cannot confuse water with fire. Even the dullest person is not going to confuse water with fire. And similarly, it's not at all possible that any of you can nahi atyanta mudha unmatadi api jalagnoho chaya prakasayoho va ekatmam pasyati kimuta viveki. The ajnana and jnana, they are 2 different realms and 2 different issues altogether. And therefore, the jnani is not going to have any kartutva bodha and get trapped and become a samsari because he knows what is the Atma. And therefore, you need not at all have this confusion that Shastra will become useless. This is meant for the ones who are ignorant, and Shastra will remain relevant when we have washed our internal mindset and we ascend to a higher level. The Shastra will lose their relevance. We'll go to a very high level of unity in our consciousness. The self-realized people are not reading any books. Ramakrishna was not reading. Ramana Maharshi wasn't reading. Buddha wasn't reading any books. But before they reached there, they did read a lot of books. Books doesn't mean that they will actually read books. They will take some advice from somebody, like Ramakrishna had discussed in Sri Totapuri and several other gurus. And Ramana Maharshi also had certain discussions, and of course he was more of an experiential person, but then Shastra remains relevant. He must have read it in the previous life. Okay, tasmat na vidhi pratiseda sastram tavat palahetubhyam atmanah anyatvadarshina bhavati. So therefore, the vidhi pratiseda sastra. What is vidhi pratiseda sastra? There are certain vidhi paraka vakyas in a code of conduct, and there are pratiseda paraka vakyas. So these scriptures or this book of knowledge, this knowledge, body of knowledge which deals with what we should do and what we shouldn't do, means which are very relevant in the realm of karma, the realm of action. Those vidhipatra shastras phalavhetubhyam atmanah anyatodarshino bhavanti. So therefore, these shastras will not have any relevance for the one who has ascended to a higher plane. He has no goal because the goals we are talking about is of the mind-body complex. Who wants to go to Swarga, wants to have a good life, wants money, wants peace. They have transcended this. So they have no fear. There is no absence. I mean, when you need to do something, when you feel there is something lacking in your life, but they are kritakritya, they are very happy, they are very contented. They are sarvakarma sannyasis. They have done all the karma, they have seen the results, they are dissatisfied, they have left and they have moved forward. Nahi devadatta tvam idam kuru iti kasmanchit karmani niyukte vishnumitraha aham niyukta iti tatrostu niyagam shrunvan api pratipadyate. So he's giving this example. Somebody might have this doubt. Sir, just imagine that there are certain general guidelines given and there are a whole lot of staff in the office and the boss has read out a few instructions. It's quite possible that everybody would like to emulate, follow, and implement whatever advice is pronounced by the CEO. What Bhagavan Bhashyakar is saying here is not the person who has just retired the previous evening. He may be in the office to collect his papers and pension. Why should he pay attention to it? He has taken retirement similarly. There may be certain people who understand this is meant for a specific group of people. If this advice is regarding bookkeeping and timely payment to the vendors, why should somebody else who is doing material management be bothered about it? He's not doing any shopping or anything. He's in charge of the inventory. So he will look at his inventory management. About payments and all, he's not bothered. Whatever materials you give him, he's going to keep that in safekeep and maintain a register to see how those materials are distributed. He has to account for what charge has been given for. He will not be bothered about any advice and accounting. Similarly, somebody says, "Oh, Devadatta, please do this work." And there is Vishnu Mitra, another guy sitting there nearby. He's not going to take up on himself and think that maybe it's also meant for me. However, he says, yeah, it's possible sometimes. It's possible when he's explaining Yoga Vishaya Viveka Agrahana. There is a Yoga Vishaya, there is a certain instruction given, and that we have to follow. And what is the Yoga Vishaya Viveka? He is not being able to discriminate meant for one. He's a new guy who has joined the office just the previous day. And the boss is saying, those of you are going to go to the classrooms, please do this, and you do the vaccination and this and that. Somebody else is super excited. This is an advisor to the professors because they're going to interact with a lot of students, and students come from different corners. So there's some advices, extra advices because of the corona situation. There's a new guy who has no public contact. He's in the accountancy section. He has very little contact with others. He's saying, so sir, what all I have to do? When the CEO says, no, it's not meant for you. It's meant for the professors who are going to the classroom, and there will be invigilators in the examinations, and therefore there is additional risk of their getting exposed to infection, and therefore they need to take certain additional safety measures to protect themselves against any kind of infection. Not for you, you are safer. You just have to wear your mask, sanitize your hands, and maintain distance because you are inside. There is a particular separator, glass separator. So you are not interacting with common people, so you can protect yourself very well. Therefore, the sentence is Niyoga Vishaya Viveka Agrahana. If you haven't understood what is this particular karma meant for and it is meant for whom, you might get confused and might take it upon yourself. Pratipatti jatha phalahetuha api. Phalahetuha api what? Atma, ajnaninam atma buddhi. So there is this karma and phala. That if you do this yajna, then you can go to Swarga. Now, for a normal guy, he might get excited and will do it. Somebody, like for example, on the television sets, if you open it early morning, there are a lot of these faith channels. They will tell Sunny Bhagwan is coming. You do this and you donate, and they have their programs early morning on stars and planets and everything. I'm not saying this is all meaningless, but I'm saying for somebody who is into Vedanta, he doesn't pay attention to these things. It doesn't mean he's disrespecting anyone, but he thinks that I better give my time to as a father, as a mother, as a son. I'll do my duties and then use whatever time I have to study Upanishad and get into the meaning of it. I'm not going to watch what is there in your horoscope and do some stupid things. It doesn't mean that it is irrelevant, but they have left that behind. And this Atma Buddhi is there for their campus. Then this questioner has another doubt. What is that new doubt? Nanu prakrita sambandha apekshaya yukta eva प्रतिपत्तिः शास्त्रार्थविषया फलहेतुभ्याम् अन्य आत्मत्व दर्शनेपि सति इष्टफलहेतु प्रवर्तितः अस्मि अनिष्टफलहेतु च निवर्तितः अस्मि इति. What he's saying is Atma is the body-mind complex. Phala hetu. Phala is the karma phala. Hetu is that sadhana. Then there is always roles, responsibilities, and results. In this whole cycle, karma yogi is trapped in. Not a problem. He is using it to go to higher level. Now, that you are not the karmi, you are not the karta, you are not the bhokta. You realize it because you are studying the Vedantic text. And therefore, you are Atmadarshi Purusha, you are a Tattvadarshi Purusha, and you may not be interested. However, what is early morning obvious to you every day? You wake up, there's a body, this body is given a cup of tea. There's a table clock which rings and tells you it is the time to get up and go and take a bath. So in the normal course of 24 hours, even if we know the Vedantic secret, what is the Svabhavika Sambandha? Svabhavika Sambandha is that you have a clear-cut relationship between actions and the results thereof. And you are actually a body-mind complex. That is the natural thing which you see with your naked eyes. Even if you may be very wise, when you are studying Vedanta, you might forget it. And therefore, you might think, and suddenly there is an announcement on a TV or anywhere about a certain injunctions that today is Ekadasi and you should do this, that, but you have already taken sannyas. You have already taken sannyasa, but you may be told X, Y, Z, then what do? Shouldn't you do the Ekadasi and you will do those karmas and khandas? He says no. This particular this is the doubt. This is what he's asking. Yatha pitra putradinam iterastara atma anya darsane sati. Now the father and the son and others are there. There is an old man dying. This is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 1:7-15. So, as we were discussing yesterday, the father tells the son, Tvam Brahmasi, Tvam Jagyasi. He makes this announcement because he's kind of trying to hand over the charge to his son. His son, that was the practice earlier. The son listens to this old dying father and he also says, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Yajnasmi. Why? Because now he will do these kriyas. And there is a sign in this Vedas, it's mentioned, the father penetrates the son or the child. How? Through the vak, that particular vak, that these whole words of advice, he transforms his experience, his wisdom and everything to his children. And then he dies and he has no dissatisfaction because he knows whatever has not been studied shall be now studied, taken care of. Whatever he could not finish Upanishads, he could study only 4. His son will complete the 6. He thinks the process will continue. He has a sense of satisfaction. However, what happens there is, when the father is telling this to the son and the son is listening, there are a few other young boys who are also sitting. The mother is sitting, the sister is sitting, others are doing. This is the ritual is speaking. Eldest son will go to the father and hear this. But they all take that advice seriously. Papa keh rahe hai. So we should all get up early morning and we shall not argue with strangers. We shall not take food from strangers. If we have just met somebody, offer somebody, please don't accept the food. The father is telling the son or the daughter. These are tricky times. It is quite, I mean, it has happened here that even a monk was given a glass of tea at Haridwar and that guy ran away with the laptop of this monk. How cruel he was. But he targeted this monk because he thought he's a simpleton. He said, Maharaj, would you like to have a cup of tea? He had that cup of tea. It was an intoxicant. He fell, unconscious and he ran away with whatever he had. Therefore, we parents generally advise young boys and girls who go out of home that you do this. So everyone, even though they are not part of this conversation, they take upon themselves this advice and they implement it in a positive way. Now, the Purvapakshi, he's asking this. He's asking this as a point of doubt. He's raising this doubt. Isn't it possible that even the so-called Atmajnanis, they may have studied the Vedantic sentences that they have no karma to do, they have finished it and they should meditate on the self. The samsara is not fundamentally true, it is just an appearance. When these kind of shastras are there and they're reading it, while reading Upanishad, they also look at the karma kandas. Will not they be a little tempted or take it upon themselves, like in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 1.5.17, take it upon themselves and start doing karma? The Bhashyakara, the Siddhanti, the Professor Sahab smiling and saying, no. Why? Vatirikta Atma Darsana Pratipattehe Pragava Phala Hetvoho Atma Abhimanasya Siddhatvad. Vyatirikta Atma Darsana Pratipattehe. When Atma Darsana Pratipatti has not been there, Vyatirikta, that means without Atma Darsana Pratipatti. When you do not have the realization that you are not same as your body and mind, and you are essentially not connected with the phala and hetu, karma, the hetu and its phala, this sarga and whatever, rajas, papa, punya, everything. When you are not free from this particular thing, Vyatidikta Atmadarsana Pratipatti, that means if you are a person who is without Atmadarsana Pratipatti, that means you are a Atma Anabhigya, you are a normal person. Pratirikta Atmadarsana Pratipatti, no, sorry. The sentence is like this. Vyatirikta Atma Darsana, Vyatirikta means different. That your Atma is different from your body and mind. Atmasya Atmanaha Vyatiriktatvam. Compared to what? Sarirad. So, Sariradehe Atmanaha Vyatiriktatvam. It is different from the body, mind, everything. That Pratipatti. When you have it, then you are a Tattvadarshi, but you haven't had it. Prageva, before this kind of Vyatiriktva siddhi in your mind that you are different from your body and mind, Prageva, phala hetvoha atmabhimanasya siddhatvat. When you don't know that you are different from your body and mind, then you are likely to run after different kinds of tasks in search of their what? The results. When you do not have Atma Darsana, then only go for these sort of activities to get the results. That is Siddhatva. Pratipanna Niyoga Pratisedharthau Hi Phalahetubhyam Atmanaha Anyatvam Pratipadyate Now Purvam. Now, by the way, who can actually have understanding that he is different and he need not do these activities? In the office, there are 5, 6 officers. One guy was supposed to do certain tasks because he's a supervisor. Now he has become a super manager or a superintendent. He has gone to a higher level. What are the normal tasks other people do, such as taking classes and assisting students, for example, when you have the laboratory classes? He used to go and, the speaking staff have to do all that. Now he has become an chief controller of examinations. Will he go and take classes anymore? If he's having fun, he can do it. But this is not part of his duty. So pratipanna niyoga pratisedhatho. When actually, what is niyoga and what is pratisedha? What is vidhi and what is pratisedha? So when you have already done all this and you know why they are done and you have a good understanding of their applicability as well as relevance, that means you have experience and knowledge. And then you have gone beyond it. And therefore, when an instruction is given, do this in the office, you know you are now the chief of examinations. You sit in the staff meeting, but you will not do, and while taking classes, do this and that, you are not interested. Okay, so this Atma Anyasam, that you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not a karma kandi, you are in search of complete Atma Jnana. When you will be able to understand that, when you realize that this karma kandas take you to Swarga, but you will have to return. The karma kandas have very limited relevance when it comes to self-realization. So you already know why this Yoga Pratiseda Shastra is there and what are the results therefore. When you have fully understood that, then you can have Tattva Darshana, you are a Tattvadarshi, and you see yourself as different from the Karta and the Bhokta, that kind of Abhimana. Anyasam Pratipadyasya na Purvam. But before you have this full understanding, you will think all these activities are relevant for you. Tasmad Vidhi Pratiseda Shastram. Therefore, what is the conclusion? Vidhi and Pratiseda Shastra, that means Karma, Paraka, all the Vakyas, Veda Vakyas which are there, meant for whom? Abhidvad Vishaya. It's meant for the Atma Anavidya, for the Ajnani. Ajnani is not uneducated here. He could be MA, PhD, and 2, 3 postdoctoral fellowships he may have done, but he doesn't have Tattva Darshana. He doesn't know what is this mystery of this universe, what is Atma, what is Parameshwara, what is Vivarta. He doesn't know these concepts. So he thinks all phenomenal reality is the only reality. That sort of a person will be interested in these activities. Now, once this much has been explained, that the Karma Paraka Vidhi Shastra, the karmic injunctions in the Vedas are meant for whom who have not got Antakarna Shuddhi and Ishvara Saranagati Bhava, as a result of which there is strong Vairagya and they are Sarvakarma Sannyasis ready for Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. In that preliminary or intermediate state, this Vidhi Pratiseda Shastra will apply to them. One thing has to be clarified, that even sannyasis don't break the rules because they're Vidhyatmas. That has been clarified by Bhagavan. He will not get up at 12 o'clock. He will not take food without taking a bath. He will not cause any harm or violence to a person. He will not at all be trying to speak in a funny, exploitative language with a woman or a child or anyone else because he's a Vidhyatma. Whatever is Vidhiparaka, he does it naturally without looking for orders. He doesn't need orders. Swataprabhusaha. He just does things which are dharmika. He doesn't need dharmapala. His dharmapala goes to his prasamsakas, his sevakas. And any mistake is committed by him, like while he's walking, he walks over a lot of insects without knowing, the papa goes to his nindakas and people who hurt him. That we have studied in the Atma Bodha. Okay. Nanu Swarga Kama Yajeta Kalanjam na Bhaket. Swarga Kama Yajeta means anyone who wants to go to Swarga, wants happiness. Swarga here you can also understand as happiness or a lot of peace or whatever here. Kalanjam na Bhaket. Kalanjam I have explained yesterday. One interpretation is that this is meat of an animal which has been killed with an arrow dipped in poison, because that's how you kill these animals, isn't it? So you dip the arrow in poison and shoot at an animal and it dies. And then that is skinned and that is cooked and these forest people used to eat. Now it is advised that you should not eat that meat. Why? It will have poison, number one. Number two, the meat is an outcome of great amount of violence. So you will be party to that violence. And so you should not do it. Kalanjam now. But some people have interpreted it later on The standard understanding is that Kalanja refers to red, that onion is also red, it's like meat, so you should not take onions. And garlic is also included there. But a lot of people take onion garlic these days, including monks. And garlic is also kind of a medicine for heart and blood pressure and stuff like that. So these sentences of Vedas, ityadu, atma vyatireka darsinam aprabhrutau. Now the whole question is those who are atma darsis, that means who are actually jnanis. Okay, so they will not do it. Kevala dehadi atma darsinam cha. And then those who think only, so these kind of Veda, Karma Paraka, Vidhi Pratisheda Vakyas are there in the Vedas. Now, who is the Atmadarshi? He doesn't consider that he exists as a physical body. So these sentences have no relevance for him. As such, he will not eat, but he doesn't pay attention. He's hungry, somebody gives him one idli with some chutney with garlic, he eats. I have seen that. Sannyasis don't pay attention. They will take. They'll say, we have left everything. Papa Punya, we don't need it. They'll take it. Now, on the other hand, those who think only the body is real, this mind-body complex that we see, that alone is real. Nothing else is real. So they don't accept Papa Punya. They don't accept Narka or Swarga. There's no heaven. There's no hell for them. So they will try to expand the possibility of pleasure and good living, commodious living when they are on earth. They are not bothered about who is saying what. So they will also not follow what is written in Vedas. Like whatever is written in Vedas, why should people in Middle East or Europe follow it? They don't even know what is written there. Many people in India also don't know it. They don't follow any rules. Atah kartu abhavat, फिर follow कौन करेगा? कर्ता कोई नहीं. Either you will divide the whole universe of human beings of those who are Sattvadarshis or those who are Asattvadarshis. They are Dehadarshis. They accept the body as the ultimate truth. We are 99% of the people, they will not pay any attention to whatever is written in the Shastras. And 1% who are there, they are Sattvadarshis or they are Atmadarshis, and they think these karmas are irrelevant because we are focused on the Atma Jnana. They'll also not do it. So who is left? Who will read these Vedas and do this Karma Kanda? Then Shastras are useless. He's saying no. Yatha pratisiddha eva pravritti nivritti upapattehe. Whether a person will be engaged in any particular act or not. Who decides it? There are two factors. One is loka pratisiddha, other one is shastra pratisiddha. One is that you don't know, you may not be very educated, and you may be just a lay person. How do you do anything? You always look at important people in the social circle where you are, and if somebody who is a respectable person is doing it, he is for you somebody to emulate and you follow it. So either it's loka pratisiddha or this is shastra pratisiddha, yatha shastra pratisiddha. There are certain injunctions. So there is a written authority prescribing certain things to be followed. So this is about whether secular or spiritual. In both the realms, these things apply. And that is actually a good explanation for whether people will follow something or not. So if it's loka pratisiddha, a lot of people following it, people will follow it. Similarly, there is something in text, and that is there is evidence. The one who reads it, he follows it. Therefore, he's saying, Ishvara Kshetrajna Ekatvadarshi Brahmavi Tavat Na Prabhasate. Who read all the Shastras. He has done the karmas earlier, and then he analyzes and realizes my life is very short. I am going to give the remaining part of my life by doing Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, by focusing on Atma Chintana. I'll be doing meditation on the self. I'll not do these activities. I have had enough of them. Then he will not do this karma. Next. Tatha nairatmyavadi api na asti paraloka iti na pravartate. And similarly, the one who doesn't believe that there is something beyond this particular life, he'll also not be interested in doing any karma because he's not afraid of the hell or narka, and he is not believing in swarga as the heaven. So he'll not do all this. Yatha pratisiddhitaha tu vidhi pratisedha shastra shravana anyatha anupapatya. What is Anupapatti? Upapatti means to understand, he accepts. So Vidhi Pratiseda Shastra Shravana. What should be done or not? Like, for example, there is a particular puja. I'll give you a small digression. So there is a particular puja. You don't know how to do that puja. What do? You call up your friends who have read some books and you say, this particular thing I have to do. Do you know how to do this puja? Or when a person dies, a lot of matas, like there is a saying that if a girl is not married, whether she's 2 years old or she's 20 years old, she's 40 years old, she's not married. So how many days you should have this particular mourning period? The ritual mourning is for 12 days. How many days it is for a girl or a child? One opinion is whether it's a 2-day-old child or is a 20-year-old child. If that guy has not been baptized, you just follow it for 3 days or something. But if it's a girl, even if she's 50 years of age, the mourning period, the Ashocha period, is only for 3 days. You don't have to do anything. That is what one opinion says. Now, how do you know what to be done? Only by reading and listening to somebody who knows this text. Right? This is Dharma Shastra. So what does he say? Yatha pratisiddhatu vidhi pratiseda shastra sravana anyatha ananupatya. Anupapatya. Because he doesn't understand without reading this text, and therefore what he will do? Anupapatya anumita atma astitve atma vishesha anavidyah karma phala sanjata trishnaha saddhagana tayacha pravartate iti sarvesang naha pratyakhyam. Ato na shastra anarthakyam. What is he saying is that when the person, he doesn't know what to do, he goes back to the shastra, and then there are certain injunctions, and therefore he will follow it because he goes back to the text, certain sense. Now, what happens is that he is Atma Anavigya. What is Atma Vishesha Anavigya? He knows that Atma is different from the body, because if you don't accept Atma is different from body, will you do any puja or anything or Papa Punya? Why? The body goes, everything goes. So you are a Nairatmyavadi, so you will not do it. You are a Sarvat, materialistic person. So you are not interested in any puja, or you don't recognize God or anything. Only the physical plane is the real thing. However, he knows Atma is different from the body, but he doesn't know this Atma is not an individuality, but it is part of the whole cosmic universe and the Brahman and the Parameshwara. Then he becomes a Vedanti. But in between, what happens to him? He knows Atma is different from the body. He has heard in some bhajan, some Purana, some stories, he has some understanding. Looks at the Shastra, it says, yes, Sarvakama Yajeta, you should do this thing. And you Agnihotra Juya Javad Jivet, Agnihotram Juya. These sentences are there. Then what happens? He is afraid that if I die, I'll go to hell if I don't do good things. And if I do good things, I'll go to heaven. Or if I come back, I'll be born in a very good family. I'll have a very loving, kind, compassionate mother and a father who is very well off, who will send me abroad to do higher studies, and I'll become a millionaire and also be a very good person, do a lot of charity work, and also have some spiritual realization. He fantasizes. Then he does all these good things. Anyatha anupapatya. So without this, you will not understand what is Atma, what is Shastra. Therefore, he believes in Shastra. So Jatha Pratisiddhi are the way. So Atma Asitvam, then he recognizes, he accepts, he infers, Atma hai. Or Atma ke liye kuch karna chahiye. I should do something for this. However, he doesn't know this Vishesha Tattva, that Tattvamasi Aham Brahma, is not exposed to all this. Karma phala sanjata Krishna. Then he has desire, oh my God, this Shastra says, if I do this, I'll get this good result. Saddhadanataya. He has good respect for it, follows it. Cha pravartate. He is interested in religious activities, charity work, all that. It is sarvesang naha pratyakhyam. All of us have seen it in samsara. There is no fear that because the Atmadarshis will not do the karma kanda, and the Anatmadarshis, those who are not Anatmadarshis, but the Nairatmyavadis, those who don't accept that there is an Atma, the Buddhists or others, Sarvas, that the Shastra will become fruitless and irrelevant. That fear you need not have. He's satisfied. Then he's saying, however, Vivekinam apravritti dasanat tad anugaminam apravrittau Shastra anarthakimiti. Sir, you're saying that, okay, there will be some people to do this because Shastra is ultimately a good book of guidance on these karma kandas and the rituals and what to do and charity work and all that. They will do it. Society is in order, not a problem. However, you are saying the top intellectuals of society who become sannyasis or Vedantis, they will not be doing this charity, these religious work. And if the top students of a college don't study a book, do you think others will read? They will also not read. Why should we read it? It's irrelevant. He's saying, no, not kasyachit eva viveko bhakti. No, don't talk like this. A majority of people don't know what is Atma Tattva and they don't stop doing karma. They continue to do all kinds of duties. Only a few who have gone beyond this particular limitation are able to leave behind all the rituals and everything and 100% focused on the Atma Darsana and Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, Satchintanam, Satkathanam, Ananya Tat Prabodhanam, that sort of thing. They will explain to each other only about Atma, do Upanishad discussions. Very few people. So he's saying, Na Kasyajit Eva Vivakupapati. Everybody doesn't get that Atma Darsana. Anekesu hi pranishu kasyid eva viveki syad. Millions of people, only one or two may be interested in Vedanta. Ramayana Katha Rendi, you will have hundreds of people. Viveki syad yatha idanim. The way, right now, Shankaracharya says, the way I'm discussing Bhagavad Gita Bhashya with you, they look how few students you are. You know, in Vedanta, if there are too many students in the class, there is some doubt that the class is not going on very well. You know, this is the joke here. So, Shankaracharya, how many students he had? Only 4. Hastamalaka, Totakacharya, Sureshwaracharya, Padmapada. Only 4 students. And if you look at Buddha, also had a very few students, 4 in Kasi. He first gave his instructions to 4 people. Jesus had only 12, and very innocent guys, but then the 12. Generally, the most realized people had very few people to listen to whatever they're saying. And that is something very interesting, and that has to be sort of taken into consideration, not to be dismissed easily. So, Gatha Idanim. So now also we are studying this Gita Bhashya, very few people are there. Nasa Vivekinam Anuvartanti Mudha Ragati Dosa Tantrasvat Pravrittehe. Even if you have a few more Vedantins, everybody will not follow them. Why? They have their own raga dvesha, the natural tendencies of attraction and aversion. They will do karma kandas, they will have their families and money and house and car. They will do whatever is good for them. They think they are good for them. And then he says, the mudhas are not because of their own engineering of their psyche, which is driven by the principles of attraction and aversion towards whatever they think is good, and aversion towards whatever they think is not good enough for them. Don't be bothered about it, he's saying. And they are prabhuta in this word. Abhicharana daucha prabhuti darshana. He's saying, do you know a lot of people know a lot of Sanskrit? They study the Puranas and the Vedas, but then they develop some very strange interest in the occult sciences. Then the avichara vritti, you know, in these smashanas, they do lots of rituals. Like you have this, you know, that there are lots of work like Stambhana, Mohana, Basikarana, you know, all kinds of things that you can influence somebody who will remain subservient to you. They'll do Stambhana, like somebody might be very angry with you. You have done injustice, but the moment he comes to you, you kind of steal his intelligence. He cannot get angry with you. So a lot of people do these sadhanas and they're super excited. If I do this, then I can defeat people in arguments. There is a sadhana for that also. So a lot of people, they have a lot of tantric advices and they do this avichara. Avichara is killing somebody. This is the worst thing to do. And if you do it, you'll go to hell. Everybody knows it. But they do tantra to kill others. And the Shankaracharya is saying, Avicharana daucha prabhuti darsana. Some people want to do it. What a heinous crime. But they want to do it through rituals. Swabhavyasya pravriti. And by very nature, the thousands and millions of births, They have certain natural tendencies and therefore they also do it because of their very natural inclination. Svabhavatu pravartate iti uktam. It's our very nature, our samskaras, our impressions. That's what drives us to behave in a certain fashion. Tasmad avidya matram sansara jatha drishta visaya eva. Therefore, don't worry. This samsara is avidya matram sansara. Yatha drishta visaya. The way you see it, that way only it happens. Now, Kshetrajnasya kevalasya avidya tatkaryata. The one who is Kshetrajna, the Atmavid, Ishvara. For the Kshetrajna, that Jnata, the knowing self, for him, there is no ignorance, nor the product of the ignorance. What is the product of ignorance? Belief in the samsara. Faulty understanding, the consequence of faulty understanding, faulty action. Because somebody gives you a wrong direction, you are driving, you want to go to Badrinath. You ask for the direction, somebody gives you a wrong direction, you drive to Mussoorie. And then your children and wife say, okay, we have come to Mussoorie, let's go to the waterfall and mall and stuff like that. Spend 2-3 days, okay, next time we'll do Badrinath. Children have their schools opening, let's go back. Your trip is over. Why did that happen? Because one piece of wrong advice by somebody that you trusted, and instead of driving straight, you drove towards Dehradun and you went to Mussoorie. So that is how it happens. So then if one Kshetrajnasya kevalasya avidya tatkaryam. Neither he suffers from ignorance nor the product or consequences of ignorance, which is samsara, entrapment. Na sa mithya jnanam paramartha vastu dusaitum samartham. And it's like, as I was giving that example several times, that there is a rope and there is the appearance of a snake because of some darkness. Can that snake bite you and cause death or anything? Is it too poisonous? It appears very poisonous. But is the poison good enough to kill you? No, because it's not a snake. So this mithya jnana, a faulty understanding, it's not a mithya jnanam paramartha vastu. What is the paramartha vastu? Atma. Dusaitam. Can it affect, can it deny the presence of Atma? In the case of a Tattvadarshi. Samartham, no, it's not capable of doing this. Nahi ushara desam snehena pankigartum shaknoti marichi udakam tatha avidya kshetrajnasya na kinchit kartum shaknoti. You are in a desert, you are driving through a desert in a car. On the left side, you see that this large spread of these 4 deserts, and then at a long distance, you see that there is a blue spread which looks like a lake. And a lake means it's full of water, bluish, very attractive, looks like an oasis. Can you use that water from that apparent oasis to, irrigate that dry land or wasteland or the desert? No, because there's no water as such. It appears as if there is in fact a lake or an oasis. There's nothing of that sort. Similarly, avidya kshetrajnasya, this apparent avidya, which causes this samsara to become manifest the way it is, cannot do anything, any damage, any denial. It cannot cancel, mitigate, refute, destabilize the truth of Atma. Kshetrajnasya. Atahacha idam uktam. Therefore, Bhagavan himself is saying in this Bhagavad Gita, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi. The Kshetrajna, if it is an individual, you can write name. Bhagavan says it's me. The Kshetrajna in the individual is no different from the Kshetrajna in me. This is just one pure consciousness. Then he also has said in the verse number 15 in chapter 5, Ajnanena vritam jnanam. And why these people, that was the verse that we read yesterday, you can read it again. Ajnanena vritam jnanam tena muhyam niramtava. All these people get misled in life because their consciousness is kind of clouded by a faulty understanding. Then the student, the doubter, the doubting Thomas has one more question. Ata kim idam sansarinam eva aham evam mama eva idam iti pandityanam api. Sir, what you're saying, okay, I accept it. But I have met a lot of intelligent professors. A lot of gurus. Sometimes they said, "Mera gadi don't drive my car like that." Sometimes they get angry and say, "What is my spectacle?" Then they sometimes say, "Okay, have you cooked that particular dish for me?" I don't believe in all that. Their language they have. My system is different. I do things in a particular way, and you have to understand it if you are my disciple. The Guru says, and I've heard it, sir. So you're saying that they are beyond all ignorance, but I've seen a lot of so-called gurus and self-realized people, so-called self-realized people, use this I-ness and my-ness very frequently. I am this, I am that, mind this, mind that. I worry. What about that? You're saying they're absolutely ajnana satkaryam, cannot affect him. But I see in their case, they have this ahamsva and mamatva. Then Shankaracharya is smiling and Shrunedam tat pandityam yakshetra eva atmadarsana. Boy, do you know? They call themselves as panditas. Truth of the matter is they're confusing the kshetra, that's this body. That kshetra, they're confusing as kshetra. They're confusing the body-mind complex as Atma. That means they have not graduated as yet into the right path of Vedanta. So that is their Panditya. So don't be bothered. In case they actually graduate to the higher levels, he adds, Yadi punha kshetragyam avikriyam pasyayuhu, but the same people that you are talking about, the moment they become aware of the Vedantic sentences, because of some purva samskaras, they might behave like this. But then early morning they are studying Vedanta or Upanishads. The moment they become aware of it, tata bhogam karmava akyankheyuhu, then they are not interested either bhoga or karma. So it's quite possible, and you have seen that it happens in many of our lives. Sometimes we want something. Children, if you remember your childhood, and especially if you had 2, 3 siblings, you remember this, that there's a particular, your papa or somebody brings a box of pens to give you, and then you are interested in a particular colored pen. And you're saying, no, I need that pen. But then he gives it to you. But your younger sibling kind of looks at you defeated. Then you feel very bad and you just hand it over. No, I don't need you to take it. But you wanted that pen. No, it's all right. I don't need it. Give it to someone else. Why? Because suddenly your teacher told you that some other classmate of yours has scored more marks than you in some paper. And he doesn't have a pen. He writes with a pencil. I have myself experienced it myself. I had a friend who was very bright, but he was very poor. So I had gone to a shop to buy good dresses for Ganesh Puja. I remember I was in Koraput that time. So we had gone to Jaipur to buy some dresses. So where I was in the shop, I found there was this guy who was standing with his little sister. I said, have you come to buy dresses? He says, no, for my little sister. And I saw him, he was barefooted. But he had actually scored 3 marks more than me in one paper, which is the English paper 2, which was supposed to be a little difficult. He scored 6 or 3 marks more than me. I was feeling very bad. So I was supposed to be a topper in the class, but then he has scored more marks than me in that paper. And when I saw this, then my father said, okay, what dresses you want? I said, I don't need any dresses. He said, why? What happened to you? He said, no. I said, no, this year I'm not going to wear anything. I didn't buy anything because I thought that this guy who is much poorer has a simple thing, but look at his life. He is actually here because he can afford to buy a dress only for his little sister who is about 2 years of age or something. We were all 12 that time. So that thing sort of strikes you. Similarly, the Vedanti or the so-called gurus, anything, it's quite possible they have ahamta and mamata, but then they may be immediately the next morning they're reading Vedanta or something, and somebody gives them something big and they give it away to another disciple. It's quite possible. So he says it's very sweet. What does he say? Yadi punah kshetragyam avikriyam pasyayuhu tasa na bhogam karma va akankshayu, then he'll not have any aspiration of bhoga or karma. Mamatyaditi, they'll be bhoga and karma for me. No, he's not interested. Because he is reminded of the secrets laid out, explained in the Vedantic text. Vikriya eva bhavo karmani. It's only the vikaragrasta sarira, the mind body thing. That is what will create for karma and the phala thereof. Asa evam sati phalarthitvad avidvan bhavatate. Only the one who doesn't know the secret of the self, he is the one who is sort of motivated to do the karma. Vidusha puna avikriya atma darshinaha. Who is the vidusha? Those who have that atma is avikriya, is non, it's beyond all modifiability, beyond all vikara. Phalarthitva abhavat, and therefore they cannot have any phalarthitva, any desire for getting any result of good karma, that good swarga prapti, or money, or a good wife and children. They are not interested in all this. Prabhuti anupapatto karyakarana sanghata vyapara uparame nibriti upacharyate. So they prabhuti anupapatti. So they are not interested. That prabhuti doesn't happen in them because they are having the understanding Atma is avikari. I need not be bothered. I'm not interested to go to Swarga or whatsoever. And therefore, this Karakarana Sanghata, this Sarira, this mind and this body, with which you do a lot of activities, they are not ready to employ it. And there is Vyapara Uparame. So these activities are the Vyaparas, the movements of the eyes, the hands, this whole system, which we employ to do a lot of things, they withdraw it. They lose interest. Then what do? Nibritihi upacharyate. They do nibriti upachara. What is that? Sravana manana nididhyasana. They'll sit, they will do meditation, no more interested in doing, buildings, houses, cars, etc. Idam cha anyat pandityam kasyajit. Astu Ketra, then he is talking about this Dvaita Vedantis, or the Bhaktivadis, those who believe in Ishvara and others, that we were trying to do yesterday. Idam cha anyat pandityam kasyajit astu Ketrajna Ishvara evam Kshetram cha anyat Kshetrajnasya Vishaya. So they think we are all the subject matter of the Kshetrajna, which is Lord Krishna or Lord Shiva, whatever, the Ishvara. The Ishvara and Jiva Bheda, they accept. The Ishvara is Kshetrajna, we are part of the Kshetra. Aham tu samsari sukhi dukhi cha, and I am what? Different from God, and therefore I can be happy or sad. Aham tu samsari sukhi dukhi cha, samsara uparamaha cha mama kartavya, but I should withdraw from the samsara. We should retire for spiritual practice. Kshetrajna vidyanana, how do I withdraw? I will try to understand. God is there. I am trapped in samsara. I should reach God. And therefore I will do this bhakti yoga. Sansara uparama cha mama kartavya kshetra kshetrajna vidyanena dhyanena, this upasana, bhakti paraga. So Ishwaram kshetrajnam sakhyat krishna, then I'll meet God. I'll have Ishwara darsana. Tat swarupavasthanena iti, and then I will have that swarupavasthana. As I was discussing yesterday, Sayujya, Salukya and Sarupya. Salukya is being at the same location as God. So you'll go to Vishnupuri or Swarga or whatever. Sayujya is extremely close to him, like Narada or something. Then Sarupya, you experience the divinity within yourself. The Sarupya thing is emphasized in Vedanta, but he's saying Tat Swarupavasthanena. Then that Atma Swarupavasthanena, by being at the feet of the Lord, then you will have that Atmajnana. Yaha cha evam buddhyate, yaha cha bodhayati. It says जो समझता है और समझाता है. The one who understands like this, that Jiva and Ishvara are different, and who preaches this theory, na asau kshetrajna iti, that he is not kshetrajna, okay, and he is not actually self-aware. Evam anvana yaha pandita pasadaha sansara mokshayah sastrasya arthavattam karomi. And then he sort of has this whole thing that he is actually one of the worst creatures among whosoever claims to be an intellectual of the Vedantic sciences, because he is completely misleading people. And then Shankaracharya is making fun of them, saying, Atma swayam mudha. He is atatai, killing whom? Himself. Why? He doesn't realize the Ishvara and Jiva are one. Atma swayam. He is actually somebody who suicidal himself. Mudha anyancha vyamohati. He is leading others to suicide. He is himself suicidal, and he is leading others to commit suicide by not understanding the essential pure nature of Atma. Sastrartha sampradaya rahitatvat Shrutahanim ashrata kalpanam cha kurvan. What kind of suicide he is doing? Shrutahani. What Shastra says? Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Brahmavid Brahmeva Bhavati. There are so many sentences already he has said. And instead of taking these sentences seriously, he misinterprets it and he does Ashruta Kalpana, which is not said, he imagines that has been said. Misinterprets the text, twists it to do what? Establish Bhagavan and Jiva are two different people. And there he's making a very powerful statement. Tasmad asampradayavit sarvasastravid api murkhavat eva upekshanyaha. So a person may have read a lot of books, Western philosophy and this and that, is later everything very good. But he's not a Sampradayavist. He doesn't know the parampara of Advaita Vedanta. That's one of the reasons that, that people come to Kashi or Kailas or Ujjain to study Vedanta with a proper Acharya who has studied it with another Acharya. Because then what? There is a lot of misunderstanding. Like if you read these translators from Germany or America, they write their own thoughts. They know Sanskrit and then they misinterpret. Okay? So Sarvasastra Murkhavat eva upechaniyaha. You should dismiss it as if he is a fool. I think we have just reached the time limit. We'll stop here and we'll just take one more day to sort of finish this section and then we'll start. The rest is easy, so then we'll go to the next verse because we lost one day yesterday. So I'm going to put an end to the YouTube, and if you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we'll do the Sankhya Mantra